now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. That means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Got Jacob Beck and Kathy Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, fired up that you are spending the next 2 hours with us. Hope your work week is off to a good start. We are loaded with content today. Sonny Ship is going to be with us in 15 minutes, covers recruiting for 24/7. It was a huge weekend for LSU, had some additions, also had a subtraction. We'll talk about all that with Sonny coming up in 15 minutes. LSU baseball continuing to do some work in the transfer portal. I have thoughts. We'll do an anniversary coming up at the bottom of this hour, 1:45. Joe Healy's going to jump aboard from Omaha. We talked to Joe back on Friday. We'll do so again today as he gets set to preview National Final, Game 3 from Omaha, Nebraska. And Ross Dellinger's got a great piece up on Yahoo today about the future of collegiate athletics and the Power 4 conferences. And I find it fascinating, so we'll talk a little bit about that in the second hour. I did something, Beck, just a moment ago that was a little bit sobering.
Yeah?
After the final pitch is thrown tonight, we will have 10 weeks until they play a meaningful sport and game in our world here. Certainly the Major League Baseball will be on and running, and they'll play some preseason football games and whatnot. But in our LSU Saints-centric world with the Pelicans sprinkled in, 10 weeks from tonight until there's something we can really grab onto.
Yep.
I'm uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, that is a bit of an unfortunate circumstance. However, we'll get through it.
We will. I have a newfound perspective on tonight's game. As you all know, and I think most of you are in the same boat as me, like these are not the two teams that I want to win a national championship in baseball. We have very much established that. However, I did not watch either Game 1 nor Game 2. Game 1, I was at a wedding. Shout out to Margaret and Jake. Fantastic wedding. I had a great time. I did not watch a pitch of the baseball. Yesterday, I was playing golf. I was keeping up with the score very much so, but I wasn't watching. So I haven't seen any. So I am really excited to sit down and watch the game tonight. And I don't have this anticipation that maybe it could break my way. Like, if Virginia was in this game, I'd be really pulling for them, and I'd have a chance to completely get off the hook with SEC teams winning a national championship. That's not going to happen tonight. One of these two teams is going to win. So I already know. I've already seeded that. And these two teams are really good, and their fan bases really care. And Texas baseball just dropped a huge bomb in the swimming pool earlier today. And, like, it's just going to be an incredible scene in Omaha tonight, and I'm really ready to watch it. I've resigned myself to the fact that somebody's going to be really happy that I don't like, but somebody's going to be heartbroken that I don't like. And I'm just going to be just fine with that. I do have a couple of comments on the first two games, even though I just admitted I did not watch them. I do not understand and will not understand, cannot understand, why Tony Vitello continues round after round in this tournament to send Chris Stamos out to the mound to start things. I do not understand. He got one out in the regional opener. He got one out in the College World Series opener. He got one out in the finals opener. Like, you're sending a pitcher out there in the biggest game of the season to that point. The regional opener is the biggest game you've played. The super opener is the biggest game you've played. The College World Series opener is the biggest game you've played. And certainly the national final Game 1 is the biggest game you've played. And he goes out there to start the game, and you've already got the bullpen up. I've never seen that before. But from anyone. And it's not like, yeah, Stamos is not designed to go 95 pitches, but he really gets us off to a good start through 2 innings, and we'll figure it out from there. No, he gave up a run in all of these outings, and he pitched into the second inning once. The most outs he got was 4. He gave up a leadoff home run to Grahovic, gave up a double. I don't understand why a program that's in as good a shape as Tennessee's, which I would argue successfully, that's been the best program in college baseball for 4 years. They were in Omaha 4 years ago. They were the best team in the country 3 years ago. They were in Omaha last year, and they are in the final this year as the 1 seed. Nobody else has matched that. And we're sending out Chris Stamos to throw 7 pitches to start the game. Now, it didn't cost him the game because Causey came in and he gave up 5 runs, gave up that 5 spot there in the 3rd inning. So if you started Causey, it wasn't like he was mowing him down either. But it seems like it puts you behind the 8 ball pretty quickly. And the best answer I could get, we talked to Joe Healy about it last week. We talked to Ben McKee about it on Friday, who covers Tennessee. The best answer anybody can come up with is, well, it's superstition. It's working. Well, it's not working. Your offense is so good that they just bail you out, and you can beat Evansville, even though you're sending a guy out to the mound who gets you 1 out. It's just crazy to me that Tennessee has proceeded this way. But big ups to Texas A&M for knocking Causey around. Prager was good enough. Again, I did not watch it, but the line score, he got him into the middle innings. I thought Josh Stewart's line was the key to that game because at that point, that early in the game, they didn't want to go to Cortez and Oschenbeck, and Josh Stewart gave Texas A&M 2 1/3 innings of 1-hit baseball, and then Oschenbeck was able to come in there for the final 2 2/3 and only threw 46 pitches, so he would be available later on, and he's certainly going to be a big X factor in the game tonight. As far as game 2 goes, I listened to a lot of Texags today, read some things, and went back and watched some Twitter feeds. Like A&M, even though they get the Laviolette home run in the 1st inning, who, by the way, he has not been great in the College World Series to this point. He was 1 for 13 before he hit that home run, but he did get 2 hits yesterday. Maybe he feels a little bit better, and maybe he swings back. They're going to need him tonight in a big way. But Laviolette hits the home run, and then Texas A&M just couldn't get another hit to add. And that's a big credit to Aaron Combs, to Drew Beams, and those guys got them through 8 innings, clinging to anything to try to keep your season alive. But Tennessee just could not solve Chris Cortez. And there is no player in college baseball, in my opinion, that has been as transformational to his team as Chris Cortez has been. I don't expect that a lot of you LSU fans will recall last year's A&M's pitching staff. Like, that's not something you're going to pay a lot of attention to week. But Chris Cortez started a game against LSU in College Station last year in the SEC opener. And I watched him, and I said, my word, this guy's stuff is outrageously good. Why isn't he awesome? And he walked a lot of people and gave up hits, and he didn't have a great year last year. He was in and out of the rotation. But I remembered the name because I remembered watching the game going, this guy is disgusting. And again, this year, he didn't work his way into the rotation, but he became a force out of the bullpen and has maintained it. And it was never a stuff issue. It was a command and execution issue, and he's got that. And yesterday, I went back and watched the highlights. My word. Those 4 1/3 are just about as impressive as anybody you'll see up there in Omaha, not named Paul Skeens. I mean, it was 101 with run, nasty slider, commanding it. And walks have been an issue for him in his career, and he did walk 5 guys, which is not ideal. But it's such dominant and oppressive stuff that he was able to get away with it. But the point being, eventually he was going to tire and not be able to go, and he did that after 99 pitches out of the bullpen, and you're just not going to shut Tennessee out. That's just not going to happen. And eventually, Dreiling comes through with the homer, and then Cal Stark hits a homer. And I will tell you this, is something you also don't do as an LSU fan that I probably do a little more than I should, but I was listening to a Tennessee podcast after they lost game 1 back yesterday morning when I was driving to the golf course. And I heard Wes Rucker and Ben McKee and those guys on the Go Vols 24/7 podcast saying, I think they probably need to sit Cal Stark. He's over. He's an automatic out. Your season's on the line. I know he's a good defensive catcher, but like, you've got to find some offense, and there is nothing there. They had that conversation. Do you sit Cal Stark? And he comes up and hits a 2-run bomb to go ahead and give him some insurance and salt the win away. That's the beauty of baseball. It's the beauty of the College World Series. Sometimes it's Tommy White that hits the big homer, and that's the guy you expect to hit the big homer. Sometimes it's Warren Morris, who hadn't hit a home run all year and's had a broken hand and is a average hitting second baseman who, I don't mean average in terms of excellence, I mean average in terms of batting average as opposed to power, and he hits the big home run. just a ton of drama. And I'm personally, as I watch the highlights and I reminisce back on last year and I look at the Jello shots and I look at the weather and I look at the pack house and the energy that's flowing through that place and I think about Game 3, it's just a really special sport. I have lamented the regionality of it over the last week, and certainly there's still a piece of me that feels that way. But these are two excellent baseball teams. These are two starving fan bases. These are two teams that do have a starting pitcher that is ready to go in this game that they expect could give them 5 innings or so, 6 innings, which doesn't always happen in these Game 3s. And a worthy national champion will be crowned tonight. And I already know that it's not going to be a team I love, but that's okay. I will certainly get through it. And we'll preview the game with Joe Healy coming up in hour number 2, and I'll talk about it a little bit more. But this has been a chalky College World Series, yes, but certainly one that was dripping with drama early and will be dripping with drama as we get into the evening hours tonight, and I'm fired up for it. Beck, you've been on the Aggies for a while. Feels like they threw their best bullpen bullet yesterday in Cortez, didn't get them to the finish line. Now they're going to be playing an elimination game for the first time all year. They had not lost a postseason game until last night. Are you worried about your Texas A&M Aggies?
Of course not, Hunt. Why would I be?
Because of all the reasons I just laid out.
No, I understand that. However, I have rode with the Aggies the whole tournament, and I will continue to do so.
Do you need me to go to the house and grab you some of Meyer's bubbles so you can blow them in the living room when A&M scores today?
That's actually a good idea.
Would your wife appreciate some bubbles being blown?
Yeah, sure.
We've got plenty of bubble stuff. Now, he, generally speaking, will spill the entire thing in the first use. He wants to play with it. He's not really all that deft with his hands. He will knock stuff over all the time. But we have a lot of extras on hand if you need some bubbles.
That sounds good to me, actually.
I would, if I was you, I'd probably celebrate with some Bluebell.
Of course.
Right out of that's what the park's named for, obviously. I'll personally, I guess, I'm probably not going to drink any Jack Daniels, but in the spirit of all things Tennessee, I'll think about that.
Give us a good whoop.
I'm not going to do that.
No?
Not going to do that. I'm telling you this. I did spend about 30 minutes on TexAgs.com today because they are in a tizzy over this Texas thing. There are tons of internet rumors. Chris Del Conte, the Texas athletic director, worked with Jim Schlossnagle at TCU. They're very good friends. They're curious about the timing of this announcement.
It's just a coincidence that they did it.
A little coincidence that A&M might win their first natty in 80 years, and they're dropping that news right there on top of it. There's some uneven times in Bryan College Station in Aggie land these days, and I'm kind of eating up a little bit. So we'll see. I'm fascinated by the Texas situation. We'll talk with Joe Healy about that coming up in about 45 minutes. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Baseball breakdowns brought to you by Pluckers. When we come back, LSU football on the recruiting trail. It's a very, very busy weekend. A couple of additions, one subtraction. We'll talk about all of it with Sonny Schiff of 24/7 Sports when we come back.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Got a feeling there's a lot of physical therapy going on with pitchers in Omaha today. Everybody's got to be ready to go, whether you're feeling great or you're feeling not so great. Unfortunately for those teams up there, they don't have Robbie Bolton because he's here in Baton Rouge. He's with Evolve Physical Therapy. If you're not feeling your best, whether you've been injured, whether you've been in a car accident, whether you just got some aches and pains, a crick in the neck from sleeping wrong, all of that can be worked out with the folks at Evolve Physical Therapy. Robbie Bolton has been a physical therapist for almost 2 decades. If you have had a poor physical therapy experience or it just wasn't involved enough, they kind of handed you some exercises and went and did some paperwork off to the side, that's not going to be experienced at Evolve Physical Therapy. Robbie Bolton and his crew are going to be very much hands-on. They can do your stretching. They can do your dry needling, soft tissue manipulation, cupping, scraping, isokinetic testing, all of that. Very, very much hands-on at Evolve Physical Therapy. So if you're an active person that's looking to get back to your active self, Evolve Physical Therapy is here to help. They're online at evolvept.com. You can go walk on in at Starring near Highland Road and schedule some time with Robbie and his team. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch from Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas, and we review the new national champion in college baseball. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Chugging right along, Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. These last few weekends have been very, very big in the recruiting world. Lots of visitors here and there, lots of commitments, some decommitments. It's been real busy, and keeping up with all of it. The folks over at 24/7 is Sonny Shipp. He joins us now via the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sonny, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing quite well. I'm thinking things are pretty busy in your world this time of year. LSU added 3 commitments, lost 1 over the weekend. So let's kind of dive into it. I want to start with Jesse Harrell because he is in this class of 2025, an edge rusher that the Tigers got a commitment from. What can you tell us about his recruitment and his ability?
Yeah, top 10 guy in the country at his position, probably around 215 pounds or so, and really has that kind of body that you can just envision that once he gets in a strength and conditioning program like at LSU or in the SEC, he's just going to blow up. He's just going to put on a lot of good weight. And it'd be nice if they could, in a perfect world, if they could pair him up with Damian Shanklin, the 4-star defensive end out of Indiana, who visited that first weekend of June. Then you would see Kevin Peoples with a big smile on his face.
I know that this is going to go down as the Bryce Underwood, Harlem Berry class. They're the celebrities of this class. But when you look at the depth that they're assembling, the back end of this class as it is assembled right now, how would you expect it to finish in terms of the rankings?
I think you're, and kind of depending on which service you look at, you can really see this class as right on the borderline of a top 5 class. I think it's ranked as high as number 2, number 3, maybe even a little bit lower than that now with Jabari Antoine opening things back up. But I think he'll eventually get back on board, and I think you'll start to see LSU really generate some momentum here in the coming days and coming weeks. You've got several announcements that are going to happen, over the next month, which, is a proverbial dead period, but it's going to be anything but dead in terms of recruiting from the sense of the news that's going to come out of it. Because June was crazy as far as the unofficial visits go. And now what you have is you've got this dead period right here. You've got kids, you've got their families, you've got their coaches who are sitting around thinking about things, and let's go ahead and get this decision out of the way before you report for fall camp for your senior season. And I think that's why you're going to see a really windfall of commitments here coming up in the next week to 3 weeks.
I had to check this and make sure that my eyes weren't deceiving me, but I'm looking at 24/7 right now, and I'm looking at Jabari Antoine's profile, and we know that he decommitted to LSU over the weekend, and I see a crystal ball picket come in from one sunny ship to LSU with a confidence level of 7. Explain.
Yeah, I didn't have a pick on Antoine the first time that he committed. It was kind of one of those deals that kind of caught you off guard as far as the timing of it goes. But I really think that he's going to end up back in this class, and I really don't think that you'll see this drag out too far. Corey Raymond comes back to LSU after leaving. He's got a he's got a kid in his own backyard of New Iberia, who grew up an LSU fan. Corey goes out, gets him committed 11 days after being on the job. I don't see this playing out too long. I just think it's a situation to where you probably had some channels crossed. You probably had some in this world that we now live in, to where everybody's got to be feeling good and be told that they're, why they should be feeling good, to where you'll see this thing get worked out pretty quickly. And I think Antoine will be back with LSU.
Who's LSU fighting off there? I know he spent some time in the Sunshine State.
Yeah, Florida State, Miami, and I think you also have to look. You also go back and you look at some teams who have some players who Antoine kind of, I guess kind of models himself after. Derek Lewis out of Westgate is one who comes to mind. He's down at Texas now. And I think that, when you see some situations like that, wouldn't be surprised to see if a team like that kind of gets in the mix and tries to get him on campus and tries to, just tries to really get in the game. But I think right now, Florida State, Miami, those are the ones who got the official visits. And Antoine, ironically, he was supposed to be at LSU's Friday Night Lights camp on Friday night, but he didn't make it for that. And I guess that was a prelude of things to come.
Sure was, and we'll see. And as you think things will work out for the home team on that one, things worked out for the home team with a couple of guys over the weekend in the 2026 class. Ja'Kai Anderson, a wide receiver, and then Richard Anderson, a defensive lineman from Carr. What can you tell us about those two guys?
Yeah, you can never. This is a class to where if you go back and if you think of LSU and defensive line recruiting, it's almost been like we used to cringe when it was LSU and offensive line recruiting over the last couple of years, just because it's been such a need. So anytime you can get one of the state's best 4-star defensive tackle, Richard Anderson, 6'3" range, probably a little bit over 300. Anytime you can get a guy like that on board before he even starts his junior season, you got to look at that as promising, especially when you look and you see how deep Louisiana's 2026 class is, and even still can be. You've got Jakeem Stewart, who, he's a 5-star defensive lineman. You got Lamar Brown, who's a 5-star offensive lineman out of U High. But if you switched around and you put that star rating on him as a defensive lineman, he would probably come out as a 5-star in by most services with that account. And so you got Dylan Berryman. You've got Dominic McKinley's younger brother, Darius McKinley, over at Acadiana. You've just got a lot of defensive linemen in Louisiana. And it's almost a shame because in a perfect world, you'd like to see that average out to where you get 2 to 3 a year, and then you can just keep mopping up in state. But, that's going to be one of those years to where we go back and we look at positions, how stacked they really are. And you say, man, it's a shame that LSU can't just find room for all of them.
Yeah, it's I guess it's a good problem to have, but I understand where the trepidation might come from. You don't have room
let's ration these out
to
a
get
little
everybody
bit.
in the boat at one time. C.J. Wiley, wide receiver from the state of Georgia, of course, his dad Chuck played at LSU. He's going to make a decision this week. What do you know about that?
Yeah, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time, he's supposed to reveal his decision. And man, that was fun watching Chuck Wiley back in the day.
Huh.
That defensive line LSU had Gabe Northern, James Gilliard, Booger. I mean, that's an underrated defensive line right there that does not get enough credit in the LSU annals and just in talking about some of the best defensive lines in LSU history. But I think CJ's probably going to choose Georgia tomorrow. In state, Georgia's been recruiting him forever. I think it was one of his first offers. Really has made him a real priority here of late, and so I think he'll end up choosing Georgia. But we saw it last year, and I think you're going to see it even more and more. With each year that we have these just no regulation whatsoever in recruiting and NIL and everything else that encompasses recruiting. But I think you're going to start to see that you'll see that these recruitments, while they, kids commit in June, kids commit in July, they open them up a little bit more. There's an unofficial visit here. There's a visit here. And I think that we're going to see more and more of that as time goes. And so, just because if you don't win out the first time around, there can be a second time, there could be a third time with the transfer portal. It's almost like, you used to hate talking about who came in second, but now if you come in second in recruiting in these days, you're actually setting yourself up for a potential run down the road.
Absolutely, become the next viable option when things open back up. They looked into an August signing period over the last few weeks, and it eventually got voted down. What do you know about how coaches and people in the industry feel about putting together an even earlier signing period?
Yeah, I think if you talk to coaches and if you talk to enough of the coaches and said, okay, if there's one thing we can fix in recruiting right now, what do you think it is? I think that would probably be on the lower end of the spectrum, the earlier signing period, just because there's so much that needs to be fixed when it comes to, when it comes to the NIL landscape, when it comes to what the collectives' roles are going to be, what the roles of the universities are going to be with this, with this $1 billion settlement that is going through and stuff. So I think there's so much other stuff that they really need to kind of figure out before we say, okay, let's move up and let's have another signing day. Because, I don't really see the benefit. The benefit is in one way is that, yes, it can benefit the coaches because they don't have to coddle as many kids nearly as much anymore because they're already signed. But then on the flip side of it, everything that the NCAA tries to impose seems like it gets shot down by the first person who takes it to court. So it's like, would an earlier signing day even really alleviate that in the long run?
Who's to say? But I don't think we're going to have to worry about that at this point because they're not moving forward with that. Sonny, thanks so much for your time, man.
Yeah, man, you have a good one, Hunt.
Sure will. That's Sonny Ship, 24/7 Sports. Check him out at Go 24/7. He and Glenn West do an awesome job keeping up with recruiting and team coverage as well. And busy time in the recruiting world. I was interested to see. He thinks Jabari Antoine heads right on back to LSU at some point, and it would make a lot of sense. I mean, we talk about Frank Wilson, running backs, New Orleans, Corey Raymond, defensive backs, New Iberia. Feels like somebody that they should have the inside track on. But maybe just takes a little more recruiting to get Jabari Antoine back in the boat to this class that's shaping up to be a really, really good one in the 2025 cycle. Speaking of classes, transfer portal classes, baseball transfer portal classes, LSU added a pitcher over the weekend. I'll tell you who and what my thoughts are on it coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com. Nothing is more important than the safety of your family and your home. And when it came time for us to put a security system into the home that we moved into, we just called Mitchell Fisher, made one call, and he came over the next day. He looked at our home, counted the windows, asked what we wanted. We showed him the locations we thought cameras would work well. He gave us his thoughts on it. We put together a plan, and within the week, we had a full security system with the cameras put in. I've got the app on my phone. I can activate the alarm and deactivate the alarm remotely. I can monitor the front door and the back door 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can record. I can play back. It's got a crystal clear picture. It's fantastic, and it's so easy to use. and it gives us the peace of mind of knowing that we are protected in our home. It's audio video security solutions. They're happy to do it for you. Check them out on Instagram, AVSS_BR. You can see some great pictures and videos of the work that they can do for you. You can always check them out online, avssla.com. It's audio video security solutions, avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Join me for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. LSU landed anybody else in the baseball transfer portal, and as a national champion, been crowned. Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Shout out to Trey Beal and the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products. Printer, scanner, copier needs, they've got you covered at Gulf Coast Office Products. If you haven't given much thought at all to your printer, scanner, copier, the machine that you've got there down the hall, you just found a good right here, that's fine. Give a little thought to it. I can promise you that Trey Beal and his team over there have clients in all sorts of vertical markets, whether you're in healthcare, law, whether you're sales organization like we are, a media organization. They've got clients and they understand the needs from a scanning, printing, copying perspective, and they can get you in the correct machine, and you're going to have a great relationship with them, and they've got all sorts of resources throughout the state to help service your account. It's Gulf Coast Office Products. They're online at gcopnet.com. Shout out to our guy, Trey Beal. Awesome dude. Appreciate them for bringing you our Monday shows each and every week. Jay Johnson continues to work in the transfer portal. Looking at the pitching staff, LSU really had to bring a lot of guys in this cycle, and they've certainly done that. They've gotten a lot of guys with starting experience. They've gotten a closer with a lot of high leverage experience, and they've kind of sprinkled throughout. And the next addition came over the weekend in the form of Jacob Myers from Nicholls State. I think most of you are very familiar with Jacob Myers. We've talked about him a good bit over the last couple of weeks. He's a Santa Maria product, went down to Nicholls, and really had a fantastic 2-year run as a Colonel. He got the start in a huge regional game as a freshman, threw the ball very, very well in Tuscaloosa. He has been a strikeout machine in the Southland Conference. His stuff is premium, 97-mile-an-hour fastball and a really, really sharp slider. He is very much a high-level draft prospect. But you know this, if you paid any attention at all, he walks way too many people. Led the nation in walks by a sizable margin. And that's been a bugaboo of his for both of his years at Nicholls. Now, his stuff is so good, specifically against the Southland Conference, he can walk 4 or 5 guys, 6 guys, and get enough strikeouts to dance around it because the stuff is so premium. He had a game against Lamar earlier this year where he struck out 10 and walked 9. That's what we're talking about here. And I have my thoughts on this edition. I don't expect Jacob Myers to find really quality command in his 3rd college season. I think it is okay to take him here. I don't think I have a problem with it. My expectations on his impact on next year's baseball team are low, with the understanding that he could. Like, I'd rather take him than, a 5'10" right-hander that throws 84. Like, obviously. He's big, he's physical, he's got big-time stuff. Like, there's a huge upside there. But I don't think the walk issues are going to resolve themselves. And so it's hard to imagine him being a starter in the SEC giving that many free passes away. And it's hard to imagine putting him in super high leverage spots in the bullpen, got a 1-run lead. You can't walk 2 guys with a 1-run lead. It's just not, you cannot allow that to happen. The strikeouts aren't going to come quite as easily against Vanderbilt, Florida, and Texas A&M as they did against Lamar and Northwestern State. And I think the walks may be even elevated because these guys are used to seeing your 97, and a lot of guys in the Southland may not be. Again, I'm not completely poo-pooing this, like, terrible take, wouldn't have done it. I'm not saying that. My expectation for Myers is not super high because I just don't know if that's resolvable. Now, I can try to paint the picture of he hit a growth spurt, he gained a lot of miles per hour on the fastball. It's taking him some time to harness that. That's a natural thing. Growth spurts in any sport can be tough to get a feel for how to handle your body. And when you add 4, 5, 6 inches to your frame and there's that much more moving parts in a delivery, you can get out of whack. But it got worse as a sophomore. He walked more guys his sophomore year than he did his freshman year. He had more innings, and you can extrapolate that any way you want, but it didn't get any better. So I look at this edition and I go, okay, you're taking a lottery ticket here. I doubt it's super expensive from a scholarship perspective, and I don't know what the NIL situation is. So it's probably worth it. But when I start going through this LSU staff, I'm certainly going to point to a Zach Cohen. I'm certainly going to point to a Luke Heyman and suggest that those guys are probably more reliable pieces to this puzzle. I'm going to point to Chandler Dorsey and go, that guy is throwing a lot of strikes, has gotten saves, has gotten big outs at the back end of games. I'm going to point to those guys as impact guys before Myers. Now, keep in mind, Myers has better stuff than all those guys. He does. But I think that there are going to be SEC teams that are going to spit on a lot of those pitches and be more patient and force him into the strike zone, and I just think that's going to be tough. Well, you go back 2 years, and he was very, very good against Alabama in the biggest game he's ever pitched in a regional. So, okay, that there's some positivity there, but I think that most LSU fans will probably look on the sunny side of this and say, look, This is a guy that has great stuff. We get him into a program that's got more resources than he's ever had, get a new set of eyes on him from a pitching coach perspective. This is really worth it. I can see this guy really harnessing it and becoming a dominant force with more resources behind him. These numbers are not insignificant. He's leading the nation in walks. That is simply not something you can tap dance around in the Southeastern Conference. So I feel, again, I say this all the time. I feel bad talking negatively about college athletes. And this is a dream, I'm sure, for a kid from Santa Ma, right down the road in Gonzales, to play for LSU. And I do feel actually uncomfortable speaking in negative terms here and there about that, because I don't mean to denigrate a kid's dream. I would give him anything to play baseball at LSU. I was never even remotely capable of walking onto that field. He's earned that right for sure and has gotten that. But I also have a responsibility to give my take on the situation, and that's just it. I have a hard time getting past that statistics category. If you were listening a couple of weeks ago when he went to the transfer portal, I gave you kind of a, well, look at all this. And I went through all the awesome stuff that he's done in 2 years. And I went through all the great stuff that he does in terms of the metrics and the velocity and all that kind of stuff. And I laid all that on the table. And then I said, but here's the problem. And we'll see. LSU staff struggled with walks this year, especially early in the season. A lot of guys walking far too many guys. And we'll see if Nate Yeske can harness that in with his returning pitchers, some of the guys he's brought in. This is going to be a real project. Again, finally, for the last time, it is, in my opinion, worth a shot here. But my expectation is that he's going to fight walks in a big way. And it's just hard to trust guys if they walk too many guys. And this is his thing. So congratulations to him for getting an opportunity at his hometown school at LSU. And I hope it goes awesome. I hope he excels and is the closer next year. But we'll see how things shake out. Jacob Myers, the newest addition from Nichols to the LSU baseball staff. They're not done. They are not done. And I would anticipate, we're going to talk about the Texas job opening up here in a second, and what that means for the college baseball landscape in terms of potential coaching hires, in terms of the transfer portal. But you have another 2 weeks, basically a week and a half, to get in the transfer portal. And then you can go wherever you want, whenever you want. It's not like you have to make a decision by that July the 2nd date. You just have to be in. So this is not done. LSU is still very much aggressively pursuing corner infielders. They're still aggressively pursuing middle infielders. I think they're probably still in the market for catching, although they may have shored that up. And then you're always in the market for pitching no matter what. And with Texas moving on from David Pierce, you can bet there will be Texas Longhorns in the transfer portal over the next 7 days. I mean, you can absolutely bet on that. I think Texas is going to move on a hire within the next 72 hours, and we'll talk about that as well, who I think it could be. But that's going to set some more motion into the transfer portal, and LSU is going to be in the mix for all that. So we'll see. But Jacob Myers, the most recent addition to the transfer portal and to LSU. Our baseball breakdowns all season long brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus, Bluebonnet in front of the Mall, Louisiana. Get on by and watch the College World Series tonight. Eat a bunch of wings, drink some cold beer. Enjoy the final collegiate sports game until Labor Day weekend. Basically, if you get into week 0, you can have that. That's in 9 weeks. 10 weeks until Labor Day weekend. So enjoy some baseball tonight. Get on by Pluckers to do so. When we come back, we got an anniversary to get to. We'll do that coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to the championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with the Bears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. After a busy recruiting weekend, we'll recap LSU Friday Night Lights and a baseball portal update. Join us for Monday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
So, Beck, I woke up this morning at 6:30, which is your standard time on a Monday morning.
Okay.
That was 5 hours longer than I slept last year on June the 24th.
Okay.
Woke up at 1:30 on June the 24th last year because I had a 5:30 out of New Orleans to go to Omaha, Nebraska, which was fantastic. I got to the airport before even baggage claim before the ticket counter was even open, which I had never done before. It was quite early. It was in the 3s, and got to the gate at like 4:20, and the bar was open. And some LSU fans went and were drinking some beers at 4:20 in the morning. Would you be drinking a beer at 4:20 a.m.?
I probably would if I was in that situation.
I just couldn't. I just was not going to pull the trigger. I knew there was going to be plenty of cold pops in my future that day. But LSU fans were in the terminal. Everybody was in purple and gold, myself included, and we were all headed up to Omaha, Nebraska on this day last year for Game 1. I flew to Dallas. I think I did have a cold pop in the Dallas airport about 8:45, and then I flew up there, met my dad at the Omaha airport as he was coming from Shreveport. We went to Council Bluffs and dropped the stuff off and went straight into town. And I think we went to Barrett's first for lunch. Saw Haney at Barrett's. It's
of course.
So you walk into Barrett's and I saw like 6 people I knew. And now it used to be everyone was at Barrett's. Now, because there's so much around the stadium, they've built out bars and restaurants. Like that's kind of where everybody is. But during the day, a lot of people at Barrett's. I knew like 5 or 6 people in there. Ate a delicious French dip. headed in, went to old Mattress Factory, saw the team off from the team hotel, and then got our tickets and went on into Game 1 of the College World Series. I was seated down the left field line for LSU in Florida, and I was talking to my dad. I was like, we really need to win this game because I don't know who's going to pitch in Game 2, and it just doesn't match up against Hurston Waldrop, and then you get to a Game 3 and you just kind of figure it out, and that's eventually what ended up happening. But what we saw that night, I don't think anybody could have truly forecasted, and it was a historic performance by Ty Floyd, and it sounded a little something like this.
Floyd's 2-2 delivery. Swing and a miss. Here's the pitch. Called strike 3. And the 1-2. Swing and a miss. Strikeout number 5 for Ty Floyd. Ty Floyd fires to the plate. Swing and a miss. Again up and in. 2 pitch. Got him to chase the breaking ball off the plate. Swing and a miss. 2 the count to Caglione. The pitch. Swing and a miss. Got him to chase it up and out. And Ty Floyd with strikeout number 17.
One of the great performances in the history of LSU baseball, Ty Floyd in Game 1 against the Florida Gators. Ty struggled a lot. It was up and down early in the season, and obviously his regional start was cut short. He was unable to go after the rain delay, but he always had the stuff. It was just a matter of making it happen on the biggest stage, and he threw 8 innings that night, 122 pitches, 17 strikeouts, and 1 walk against that Florida lineup with Cade Curlin and Wyatt Langford and Jack Caglione and Josh Rivera and Luke Haymans and Ty Evans. I mean, an elite level lineup, one of the 2-3 best lineups in all of college baseball. He struck him out 17 times in an outing that was, 1, the biggest game he had ever pitched in, and 2, ended up being one of the reasons that he is a wealthy young man at this point. The fastball was electric. He spotted the breaking ball, and he just dazzled for 8 innings. But unfortunately, LSU's offense just wasn't fantastic in the game. We're only able to muster 3 runs through 9 innings. So Ty had to hand the ball to Riley Cooper, who battled and was fantastic. And finally, LSU got it to the 11th inning, and not Cruz, not Jobert, not White, not one of the big draftable guys, just the grizzled veteran, Cade Beloso, dug in to lead off the 11th.
Here's the 0-1 to Beloso. Hit high and deep to right field. Giving it a look is Scheikhofer, and this baby's gone! Cade Beloso gives the Tigers a 4-3 lead. Second home run of the College World Series for the LSU graduate who rounds third. 4-3 LSU.
I get the chills just listening to it because I can vividly remember standing next to my dad, and you can feel the stress and the tension in the ballpark. It's so miserable yet so unbelievable and so awesome. But every pitch was just dripping with drama, and I can vividly remember Cade hit that ball, and I said out loud, "Did he do it? Did he do it?" And I watched the right fielder kind of his shoulders drop and the ball sail into the seats, and just absolutely losing it in ecstasy. Obviously, it's not a walk-off. LSU's got to go out there and finish the deal, but it felt like a weight lifted because Riley Cooper had gotten out of jams in the previous 2 innings where 1 hit loses the game for LSU, and we obviously know the play that Josh Pearson makes over in left field for Wyatt Langford. I mean, it was just the drama was unbelievable in that game, and Beloso kind of broke that in a sense and let us breathe. And then Riley Cooper came out and got a huge strikeout to finish, and we ended up walking to a bar down the street before we got an Uber, and it completed a day where I was awake for about 23 and a half hours, and it was worth every second of it up there in Omaha, Nebraska. A truly special day, June the 24th. The 25th, not as great. Florida hit 900 home runs, so we probably won't do an anniversary tomorrow. I did have a delicious steak after the game. My dad actually picked up the tab for that, so I was very appreciative of that.
Even better.
It was, and we went and we got a Jello shot at Rocco's on the way home and reset for a new day. Yes, the 25th is actually my dad's birthday, so not the best birthday present. Florida hitting 900 home runs there, but the day after was pretty good. So 1 year ago today, LSU beats Florida in Game 1 of the national final behind Ty Floyd's 17 strikeout performance and a dramatic lead-off homer in the 11th by Cade Beloso. 4-3 was the final, and LSU was on their way to the 7th national championship in program history. Somebody's going to win their first tonight, unfortunately. But we'll get a thought on all of that from Joe Healy of D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team when we come back after Sports Center. Baseball breakdowns all year long, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open the show with my thoughts on the College World Series final thus far. If you want to listen to that, you can go back and catch it at the top of the show. Sonny Shipp was with us at 1:15 talking LSU football recruiting. Tons to get to on that front. And he had a crystal ball in for Jabari Antoine to LSU. He gave his reasoning for that. If you missed it, you can find it on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. All of our LSU football content is posted there all year round, so go ahead and subscribe up to that channel. Baseball Transfer Portal Talk, I got to that as well. Plenty to get to in hour number 2, a Ross Dellinger piece on D1 athletics and where we go from here that's interesting. But Joe Healy from SEC Extra's D1 Baseball squad over there is with us after Sports Center on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Oilers, led by the best hockey player in the world, Connor McDavid, on the verge of completing one of the biggest comebacks in sports history. With a win against Florida tonight in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, Edmonton becomes just the second NHL team ever to rally from a 3-0 deficit to win a championship series, and that would mean instant immortality for McDavid, believes ESPN NHL analyst PK Subban.
He gets put in the Hall of Fame. He gets put in a category of all-time greats, which is a select group. And then he has the shot, when it's all said and done at the end of his career, to potentially be at the top of that list. Now, I ain't saying any better than Wayne Gretzky. I am not saying that. Wayne Gretzky's the great one for a reason.
Game 7, 8 Eastern on ABC. NBA, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski's reporting Raptors franchise cornerstone Scotty Barnes intends to sign a 5-year max rookie extension, could be worth up to $270 million. Woj also reports the Cavaliers hiring Warriors top assistant Kenny Atkinson as their next head coach.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen coming up Tuesday. Now that J.J. Redick is officially the new Lakers head coach, I'll tell you what he needs to do if they want to be title contenders. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week is off to a good start. I led the show with this, but after the final pitch is thrown tonight, got about 10 weeks until a meaningful game is played in the sports that we cover here in South Louisiana. And the next one will, of course, be college football on Labor Day weekend. So we'll enjoy tonight. It's Texas A&M and Tennessee, Game 3 for a championship. Joe Healy been in Omaha for a week and a half now, and there's one more game to go. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing well. I've had, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think I've had about enough steak for a little bit. I'm ready for a break on that front. But otherwise, doing great. I don't take for granted that my job, part of it is to just come out here for a couple weeks and watch incredible baseball. So it's been a lot of fun.
Is there a favorite steak spot?
Well, the Drover, I don't know if it's the best steak that I have, but it's the best experience just because, you walk in the door of that place and it's like you've been transported to 1973.
Yeah.
It's like wood paneling and a old school salad bar with iceberg lettuce on it. New spot out here, though, called The Committee last night. Might have been the best steak I had.
Oh.
So, a little heads up for next time LSU's here. But, you can't go wrong with the Drover.
I love the Drover, too. Went in 2013. That was a quick stay. My lead for my column after that, because that was a really good LSU team with Alex Bregman and Aaron Nola, and they went 0-2. And my lead for my column was I overpacked, which I very much did. I stuffed 14 unused shirts in a suitcase and went home after 2 days. So hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. But there'll be a Game 3, which we had last year. Not a lot of drama in the one last year. We'll see what happens tonight. But let's talk about the first 2 games first. Tennessee goes with Chris Stamos in the opener. He gets one out, as is tradition. But A.J. Causey came in and was okay until a 5-run third. I thought the story in Game 1 for me was Stewart coming in and holding the rope for A&M before they could give it to Aschenbeck. But kind of your thoughts on Game 1 and how it materialized.
Yeah, for sure. I thought Stewart, was the story of the game because there's an alternate scenario where A&M has to go to Cortez there, and maybe that works, but it makes it to where, and look, A&M lost Game 2. We'll talk about that shortly, but that would have created a situation where they wouldn't have had Cortez for Game 2. And so, yeah, Stewart doing what he did is huge. He's back ready for tonight. Obviously, Game 3 of the CWS Finals, just about everybody's available, but having him with some semblance of rest, I think, is going to be huge. So they've got him and Aschenbeck ready to go. The other thing was that, look, now it doesn't matter anymore. The season's basically over after tonight. But the Stamos Kazi thing was effective for a while, and then less so lately. And then it kind of exposed, I think, that if Kazi's not really, really sharp, that whole thing kind of crumbles a little bit, because typically what's happening of late is that Kazi's coming in with traffic and some runs already on the board. And so if he's not really, really sharp, and sometimes he is, but if he's not, I mean, they're kind of in trouble and scrambling a little bit.
How much money has Chris Cortez made himself in the last 6 weeks or so?
Tons. Yeah. That dude, it's like 101 mile an hour sinkers. Like, I'm sitting next to a guy who has TrackMan in the press box, and it's just, the numbers are insane. Now, the interesting thing, and look, I give him a lot of credit for being upfront about it. He said in the postgame yesterday, I don't do, like, he was giving Zayn Badmayev a lot of credit. The opener for A&M yesterday, and saying, look, that's not easy. Like, to go out, even just throwing an inning, that's not easy. And he said, I struggle when I start. And then Schlossnagle came on after him and was like, and I think went a step further and said he has anxiety about starting. Now, maybe that's just he gets into a pro organization and he works with a good sports psychologist where, now his full-time job is pitching, not also being a student. Maybe some of that changes over time, but I do wonder if, that does knock him a little bit in scout's eyes. But that being said, like, I do think it's a good thing for him to come out and say that, and be honest about it and not try to hide it, because I don't think that makes it any better. And I think in sports we've come a long way, but I think we still have a ways to go with being honest about, like, things like anxiety and what have you. So I thought it was cool he did it. I do wonder, though, if it does knock him a little bit.
Look, Beams, Combs, Connell, Snead, they're very, very good. That's about as good as Tennessee can throw out you. And they held Texas A&M to 1 run yesterday. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, a little bit. It was one swing, a home run in the first inning from Laviolette, and that was all she wrote. Yeah, so a little bit, yeah. I think the difference yesterday, in large part too, was Tennessee played a lot cleaner baseball. I mean, that's kind of the other thing about the opener, is it felt a little like the Florida State game where Tennessee came all the way back to win it. This game felt a little like that, in that there was the game one felt a little like that in terms of Tennessee booting the ball around, but then made a late push and kind of made it a little interesting. But yesterday, Tennessee was on their game defensively. I mean, when you've got Blake Burke out there making plays like that, I mean, it's tough. I mean, he's probably, and I think Mike Rooney wrote this after the game for us, that maybe no player in terms of all facets of his game is more improved this year than Blake Burke. I mean, he's a much better hitter, but also he was a real hindrance for them defensively last year. And now he's a guy that, honestly, you probably don't want to bunt to, because he's really good at coming in and making throws. And he made a great play yesterday at first base. And so when Tennessee can defend like that, especially in this ballpark, and hey, the wind is whipping in today, like, if they can defend it, with Xander Sechrist on the mound, I don't really care how much contact A&M makes. Maybe they hit a couple solo home runs, but they're probably also going to hit a lot of flyouts. And Tennessee, if they can defend like yesterday, I think will be in decent shape.
That's interesting to hear the wind's howling in. That was kind of like all we talked about last year, because LSU played in some really, really pitcher-friendly conditions and some really, really hitter-friendly conditions, and the game's completely changed based on that. So it's interesting to hear. Xander Sechrist is going to get the ball. Justin Lampkin's going to get the ball. How much do you realistically expect from those two guys?
I think with Sechrist, I think there's a chance they really ride him pretty good, as long as the game's not getting out of hand. He's stretched out. He's pitching really well lately. Last 5 starts, something like a 1.23 ERA. That goes back to the regular season. With Lampkin, probably a little less. He's still technically on short rest. I think it's 4 days. But because he hasn't been as stretched out, I think probably 5 was going to be the cap on him anyway, when you consider what A&M has available in the bullpen. I just don't think they're going to want to push it. So I think a little bit shorter for him, a little bit longer for Sechrist. And I said this on our morning show today, that I think if I'm Tennessee, I really like the matchup here with Sechrist on the mound in a pitcher-friendly environment, because A&M's whole thing is, you're going to foul a bunch of pitches off, and we're going to work counts until you basically walk us, or you throw us something over the heart of the plate that we can drive. Sechrist doesn't really do either of those things. And so I think Sechrist is going to stare them in the face and say, look, you can keep fouling off these pitches on the black, but I'm going to keep throwing them. And we can do this all day. Now, obviously, he's got a pitch limit at some point, but he's not going to do the things so many other pitchers do against A&M, which is eventually try to throw a pitch just a little finer off the black that gets called a ball, or just throw a pitch that's a little bit more onto the white and see if you get away with it. I think he's going to be fine with just, hey, I'm just going to keep painting this black, and you're either going to have success or you're not. I think that's a good match for this ballpark with the conditions that we expect them to be.
We're going to see Evan Oschenbeck at some point today. He threw 46 pitches on Saturday. How many realistically can we see? And is that the first guy Schloss goes to if things aren't going well, or is he trying to save him for the back end?
I think he's going to try to save him for the back end because I think you want to bring Aschenbeck in with a chance to finish it.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got an absolute disaster situation where we just need to stop bleeding, maybe it changes things. But as long as this game is close, I think he'd like him to finish it. I think it's the ideal situation is Lampkin, Stewart, Aschenbeck. But, we'll obviously see. But the 46 makes it a little bit complicated because he could probably give you 50 or 60 if you really want to push him. But he's a guy, because the stuff is not elite. Oftentimes when pitchers get tired, like the location goes before the stuff does sometimes. Well, Aschenbeck's stuff is not elite. So if his location goes, he's really in trouble. So you do have to be pretty careful with understanding where he is in terms of having stuff left in the tank. So if he's in there before the start of the seventh inning, if you're A&M, you get a little nervous about that.
As far as Tennessee, is the goal to get it to Snead at some point? Can he go extended innings? He's kind of been a 1-2 inning guy. What's the goal there for Tony Vitello?
Yeah, I think you can extend him a little bit, but the thing about him is he's different than Aschenbeck in that with Aschenbeck, if he's on, you have a pretty high level of confidence that he can really shut it down. Snead is a very good reliever, but he's different in that regard in that he gets hit, and that's a little surprising considering how hard he throws, but the fastball plays down a little bit. And when he gets hit, he tends to kind of get hit hard. So I think if it's Tennessee, I think they'd like to get it to Snead with a lead, but I don't know that it's necessarily required in the same way that A&M needs to get the ball to Aschenbeck. I think if they see a matchup that's better, like maybe they go Snead first and Cannell later. I do think they have some flexibility there, whether they want it or not. Like I think they'd like there to be someone like Snead who can really just lock it down. They just don't necessarily have that guy. So I think they can extend Snead. I just don't know if they're going to be necessarily willing to do so because his level of dominance is not where Aschenbeck has been.
What's the crowd breakout been looking like the last 2 days?
It's been a little heavier A&M to my eyes, maybe 60-40. And I'm a little bit, it's hard to tell a little bit for me because I'm staying in the A&M hotel. So
Okay.
I see a lot of A&M, although there is a lot of orange that has checked in today. So I don't expect it to be much different, but it has been 60-40 A&M, which is impressive. I kind of had a hunch coming into this that it would be reversed, that it'd be more like 60-40 Tennessee. But, what I'd said with you last time that I think that makes for a really fun atmosphere has been the case because there's been a real tension in the park that, when one fan base is dominating it, there isn't always necessarily. So that's been a really fun element.
Yeah, it's I can imagine it's just fantastic. I was just talking about because this is the 1-year anniversary of Game 1 last year when Floyd struck out 17 and Beloso hit the home run, and we just talked about it to close out hour number 1, and I can vividly remember the tension that I felt in the ballpark as an LSU fan because it was just I knew that they needed to win that game. The matchup did not look good in Game 2. It went worse than I could have imagined, but they got it done, and it was an incredible memory there in Omaha. Now this is technically your beat. Texas has an opening. What are your thoughts on changing baseball coaches as they move into the SEC?
From an on-field perspective, it is tough to defend, but I will defend it from the standpoint of Texas had been a little chaotic. They've had a lot of turnover on the assistant coaching staff, and that's not necessarily a red flag all the time. But when you're winning, as they were, and you're cycling through coaches, you have to kind of wonder what's happening here. They also had an assistant coach leave during the season, which is always kind of like a weird under mysterious circumstances, right? It's one thing if it's like, hey, I've got a health issue, here's the deal, I'm stepping away. It was under mysterious circumstances where no one really said anything about it. So you start to wonder what's going on there. And I don't think I'm necessarily given a hot take to say the talent's just not what it was. I mean, they've had some players in recent years. Pete Hansen, a great pitcher. Ivan Melendez was Golden Spikes winner, but the talent across the board has not been where it was. So I do think there is that as well. And in Texas, I believe is understanding where they are, which is that, hey, if we enter the SEC with the type of team we had this year, we're probably a regional team, but not much more than that. And so I think they kind of said, look, if we're going to make this move, we probably just need to make it now. And I think that's what we're seeing. What comes next is more interesting. Brother, they're going to take some big swings.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not they connect with any of them, we'll see. But Texas is one of a handful of jobs that you'd be silly if you're a sitting head coach to not listen to. It's one of the, I know my colleague in your fine city made some headlines a couple months ago, said, hey, if Texas moves on, I'd expect them to look at Jay Johnson. Now, obviously, that's going a different direction. I don't expect Jay to be in the mix. But the point he was making, I think, is that, look, like Jay Johnson would be silly not to listen because it's Texas. And, oh, by the way, if Jay Johnson had been the head coach at Texas and won a national title and LSU needed a head coach, he'd be silly not to listen to LSU.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. And there's maybe 4 or 5 of those jobs in college baseball. So, look, there's some fan bases who think their coaches are untouchable right now. And I'm here to tell you they may not necessarily be. We'll find out over the next couple of weeks.
I have a prediction that Tony Vitello and Jim Schlossnagle are both going to be making a lot of money next year. I'm not prepared to tell you exactly where that's going to be, but it'll be more than they're making right now. How's that for a take?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. I referred to it this morning as the Texas college baseball coaches stimulus package, where there's going to be a whole bunch of raises and frankly, some raises given to some coaches who were never going to be in the mix, but they have agents good enough to convince ADs they were. And so that'll be good. You know, we're increasing the visibility and the payouts for college baseball, which I guess is good for the sport. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a circus, I think. Not necessarily in a bad way. I think Texas will get a great coach, but I think there's anything and everything is on the table.
Enjoy some baseball tonight, Joe. Safe travels home. Maybe some chicken and a salad for the rest of the week.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think it'll be good. It'll be good for me. I'll feel a little more human. Thanks, son. I'll talk to you later.
That's Joe Healy, SEC extra, part of the D1 baseball team over there, good enough to give us a couple of 15-minute segments while he's up there in Nebraska. I talked about this at the top of the show. I'm really excited to watch the game tonight. I kind of dreaded it when I saw this writing on the wall. These are going to be the two teams, but I'm ready to watch a high-drama ball game tonight and let the winner have their spoils and maybe a little bit of laughter at the loser's expense. Misery loves some company. I've been miserable for 3 weeks since LSU lost. Might as well have a little bit of company with one of these two teams. So we'll see. 6 o'clock first pitch from up there at Charles Schwab Field between Tennessee and Texas A&M. I still have more to talk about in that game a little bit later on in the show. Ross Dellinger wrote a piece on Yahoo earlier today talking about an eventual divide in the world of collegiate athletics. And it's not like maybe this could happen. It's like this is going to happen like pretty soon. I'll tell you what that sounds like and my thoughts on it coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. I tell you this all the time. Maybe you locked in an awesome interest rate at your home a few years ago when rates were so low. And that's fantastic, and you're not looking to move. But you could maybe use some adjustments to the living situation. How about you start with a brand new bathroom? David Duvall and his team are the one-stop shop for everything. You don't have to call 3 or 4 different contractors. You call one. You call One Bath and Closets. He handles it from soup to nuts. It starts with a free consultation, kind of tell you what you can do. You can do a full-scale bathroom renovation remodel. You can do something simple like a tub-to-shower conversion. It's up to you, and David's happy to help you every step of the way. If you tell him the Hunt Palmer Show sent you to One Bath and Closets, $1,000 off of your project at One Bath and Closets. Go to the website. Get the free consultation, see the pictures of their great work, the reviews from their satisfied clients. Start your process today with David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. Online at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch from Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas, and we review the new national champion in college baseball. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Parrish Construction and Roofing brings you live coverage of the 2024 SEC Football Media Days that will start Monday, July 15th through Thursday, July 18th. Find highlights from the week on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. Our coverage is also brought to you locally by Rev Business and Relief Windows.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
So they're north of 350 Division I schools. There are 32 conferences, and the commissioners of those conferences got together in Naples, Florida over the weekend. And they were at the Ritz-Carlton. Ross Dellinger was there, and he's got a great piece up on Yahoo right now. I very much invite you to go check out. But the lead of this is that, look, there was a nationwide conference. Everyone was together. And in the middle of that conference, you had a room where Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, met with the commissioners from the SEC, ACC, Big 12, and Big 10. Just 5 of them. The other 28 commissioners, not invited, need not apply. And the inference here is that there's discussion, ongoing, serious discussion, that would determine, hey, SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, you're over here. Everybody else, you're over here. And this is not new information. This is not a new thought process. But Ross's piece details that this is coming now. Not like we're probably headed down this road at some point. Like, no, now we're doing this. You've got $2 billion in litigation and payments that must be made to these athletes over the last 10 years. And what we're going to have is the schools in the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10 are going to operate as professional sports leagues. They're going to share their money with their players. They're going to be massive revenue-producing sports that play each other. And then you're going to have all the rest of these teams that make up the 28 other conferences. They're going to be universities with extracurricular activities. Now, there are a lot of things we've got to deal with, and the one that is the biggest is the NCAA's basketball tournament, which drives revenue to all these other schools and is the biggest moneymaker they have access to, Of course, we know that that's not the case. It's a huge moneymaker for the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, but their media rights deals are the ones that bring in the biggest portion of this whole thing. And they're going to do that on their own with football and basketball, and they're going to pool that cash together and use it to fund players. But the future of these other conferences is a little bit gray. Like, I can tell you what SEC football is headed towards. You're going to play your 12, 13 games against teams from these other leagues. You're going to have massive media rights deals. You're going to share money with your student athletes. And it's going to be professional sports in the big time. And you're not playing Rice anymore on a Saturday in September. And you're not bringing Grambling in to beat them by 80 points. That's not happening anymore. I don't know what the future of athletic departments looks like once we cut that part of those bye games out for them. I don't know what ULM's future is in collegiate athletics. It feels, in my opinion, a lot closer to the FCS world than it does the SEC. And it already did. But they now are not going to, I don't think, get to play in the big kids pool 1 week a year. And you read some of these quotes, and it says they're cutting us out of it. They're letting the big dogs eat. There are a lot of quotes that Ross has in this story that are interesting. But I think everyone is now understanding that the power schools are going to be given $22 million a year back to their student athletes, and the other schools can't do that. So you're not in the same league. You're not in the same sport. You still have the same shaped ball, and the officials still wear the same clothes, but it's not the same world. So you've got to deal with 60 group of 5 football programs, 120 FCS schools, 100 basketball-only universities. They've got to figure that out. In this story, Ross refers to them as the other 28. And so there's just not a lot of revenue to be had for the other 28. It's going to end up cutting some things out, and I'm personally not going to sit here and pretend like I can figure out how to operate that. I've never looked at a budget. I couldn't balance one if you asked me to. I took a couple of accounting and finances classes at LSU. I quickly changed majors because I would never finish. I'd still be there. I've been gone for 13 years. I'd still be in the first finance class. I don't get it. Don't ask me to do numbers. But they've got to figure that out while the big boys are going to break free and play. And the numbers here are astronomically. It's like $2.77 billion that the back damages are to be paid. $970 million of that, as Ross writes, has incited a harsh public criticism from the commissioners who say they weren't involved in the settlement negotiations and believe that puts them at a disadvantage. Houston Christian has already filed a lawsuit saying, hey, we can't do this. And while I think there was a time where Houston Christian and Auburn could have the same discussion about football, that is like 5 decades in the rearview mirror. It's no longer reasonable. So there's not a timeline in this article that Ross writes, but Tony Petitti of the Big Ten, Jim Phillips of the ACC, Brett Yormark of the Big 12, Greg Sankey of the SEC are going to make their own rules. They're looking at football roster limits. They're looking at how to handle basketball. They're going to look into scheduling and media rights deals. And all that's going to be done, and they're not going to sit at a table with the other 28 commissioners. Those days are over. And I'm personally, as I sit here, I'm okay with it. Because what do we know about Hunt's thoughts on every rule change, every issue that comes about? What does that mean for LSU? Well, it means LSU is going to play Purdue a lot more often than they're going to play North Texas. LSU is going to play North Carolina more than they're going to play Troy. And I don't know what happens to the volleyball program at Rice. I don't know what happens to the field hockey team at Virginia. That's Virginia's in the power, but I don't know what this means for the programs that are funded by football road trips and basketball road trips and buy games that aren't going to happen in the future. We're going to expand the NCAA men's basketball tournament to get more teams in, to create more money to distribute as best we can. That's the biggest cash driver for a lot of these programs. But down the road there at LSU in the athletic administration office, they're just dealing with piles of money coming in from all over the place. They're going to give some of it back to the players and move on from this world that we've lived in for a very, very long time. I could sit here and throw a guess out as to when this exactly is going to happen. It would be a guess, but it's now not like backroom meetings that nobody knows about, that like Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC just got dumped into our laps one day with no prior notice. That's not the case now. We know these meetings are taking place. We know the issues they've got to tackle. They got to get it done, and then we're going to move on. And I think it's going to be pretty quick. We'll talk College World Series final, my pick, and my thoughts on the game when we come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this summer for exciting live sports action. We got the biggest screens around, and ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. Plus, Penn Play Rewards members can win up to $500 in Penn cash every single week. So visit PennPlaySports.com/cover5 today and register for your chance to play and win. Not a member? Get the Penn Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino is your live sports headquarters. Bring your crew for all the action. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner.
Let's go and inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. After a busy recruiting weekend, we'll recap LSU Friday Night Lights and a baseball portal update. Join us for Monday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
So we'll crown a champion in college baseball tonight from Omaha, Nebraska. Texas A&M and the Tennessee Vols, Game 3, 6 o'clock at the Chuck. It's got to be a nervous day for a lot of folks up in Omaha. One, your school, if you're an A&M or a Tennessee fan, is bidding for its first national title in a very, very long time in the Big Three men's sports. Of course, Texas A&M won a women's college basketball title a few years back, and Tennessee's got a few of those to their name. But as far as the Big Three men's sports goes, they haven't done that in a very, very long time. Tennessee's 1998 with T. Martin in football, and A&M, you got to go back to the 30s. So it's a big, big day. And then the University of Texas decided to jump in and say, hey, we're going to steal some headlines. We've fired our baseball coach today. So everyone speculate on who we're going to hire. There are a lot of internet rumors flying around, none of which I can substantiate with any degree of certainty. People are saying that Texas did this to try to steal some headlines. People are saying that Texas made the announcement today because it's the last day of the season, so there's a change in the buyout for David Pierce, their fired head coach. Some people are saying they did this because they've got their guy and they're going to announce it very shortly. They couldn't do it 2 weeks ago because the guy they've hired is still coaching. And you can do anything with all the drama that you want. I know that Texas is going to swing a pretty big stick here. We talked to Joe Healy in the first segment of this hour. He agreed. And last time Texas had a job opening, Paul Maneri got a call, and Kevin O'Sullivan got a call, and Tim Corbin got a call, and Dan McDonald got a call. Like, they were calling everybody. And they ended up with David Pierce, who was at Tulane. I don't think Chris Del Conte's doing that again. Now, where does he go? Well, the two guys that are coaching tonight are very obvious targets. Tony Vitello is a rising star at a non-traditional power, and he's got a big personality, and he recruits great, and his team's hit a bunch of home runs, and he's had the best program in the country the last 4 years if you put them all in totality. It makes a lot of sense to try to go get him. Jim Schlossnagle has won big time at TCU for that program and has had really good teams at Texas A&M 2 of the last 3 years. 3 years ago, they were in the Final Four. This year, they're one game away from winning a national championship. He knows the state. He's had success there. He worked for Chris Del Conte at TCU. They're very, very good friends. But can you leave Texas A&M to go to Texas, especially if you've just won a national championship? But they make a ton of sense. Either way, the agents for those two guys are going, oh, Texas is open, and my guys in the final, we getting raises. And they will be making a ton of money next year. Jim Schlossnagle and Tony Vitello will be among the 5 highest paid college baseball coaches in America by the end of the week. Whether that's at Texas or at their current employer, that remains to be seen. I personally feel this way. I don't think Tony Vitello is going to go. He has a chance to blaze a trail at Tennessee that no one's ever blazed before. His administration is giving him everything he is asking for. They have got big NIL budgets for recruits and transfers. They are spending a ton of money on what was a dump of a baseball facility. That fan base is engaging with baseball like they never have before. And he can kind of become the guy that built it. And I think that there's some attractiveness there. Massive amount of job security, too. Jim Schlossnagle, he loses today? Maybe. He wins today? I just can't see it. I cannot see a head coach at a job like that where, yeah, they don't have a ton of history in championships, but it is a really good college baseball job. Winning a national championship, reaching the top of your profession, and then leaving for the school that they cannot stand. You will never be able to celebrate that championship again. You'll be persona non grata in College Station. You can't come back to reunions. You'll be booed every time you set foot in there. You take this great accomplishment and then you just throw it away. in terms of enjoying it the rest of your life. It just seems like an odd thing. Now, you lose today? I don't care. I'll go build a monster at Texas. But I don't think it's that type of decision because I think that Texas already has the guy that they're going to hire. You think about this in terms of time frame with the transfer portal. If Texas was going to hire someone else that hasn't been coaching for 2 weeks, they would have done it 2 weeks ago so that they could go get transfers. So I look around and I'm thinking about the guys that they could hire. And sure, they could call Jay Johnson, but I told you what I thought about that 2 weeks ago. I think that Jay Johnson cares about nothing except college baseball. And he's at a place right now that cares about college baseball more than anybody else does. He's shown you can climb the mountain. He's shown you can get elite transfers. I guess he could go get a raise at Texas if he wanted one. But I feel like he can probably get that here too. I don't think he's going to leave. An interesting name is Kevin O'Sullivan. I was in Omaha last year when Kevin O'Sullivan's team was playing for a national championship, and I saw 20,000 LSU fans and about 800 Florida fans. That grinds your gears at some point. They just don't care that much. They certainly don't travel. They did build a new ballpark. They do get better attendance numbers than they did. But Texas cares a little bit more. And you can build a brand new stadium there. And if you get to Omaha, I promise you there'll be a few thousand Texas fans there. Does he want to go? Is Dan McDonald's time come and gone? I don't know. Do you want to go to Virginia and get Brian O'Connor? Do you want to go to Clemson, which is a name that we're getting a ton, and get Eric Bakich, who got Michigan to the final and has done a good job at Clemson? Had a regional host team last year. They got beat by Tennessee, and then had a really good team this year as well. Is that a guy you want to go after? I don't know. I'll tell you this with 100% conviction. If Jim Schlossnagle loses the national final in maroon and is at that podium in burnt orange within 72 hours, I may not be able to do the show. I'll be laughing so hard. If that happens, if that coach gets them to Omaha into the Final Four, which they called legendary, then gets this team to the final, they were, 6 outs away, 7 outs away from a championship yesterday, and then leaves for the school they hate, that will be hysterical. You will have to pry me off of Texags with a crowbar if that happens. Now, I'm saying that, realizing that I'm sitting here, and Kendall Rogers came on Matt's show 3 weeks ago and said that they were going to call Jay Johnson. And that would just be the ultimate kick below the waist. But that possibility's out there, and I think it's interesting. Now, maybe it's Vitello, and that would make a ton of sense. But I feel like, for the reasons I laid out, that's probably not going to be the case. It's really, really interesting. And whether it was intentional or not, Texas is absolutely grabbing headlines today, and I am fascinated by who they hire to come into the SEC. Now, let's talk about the game tonight before we go to break and come back and close things out. Justin Lampkin's going to get the ball for Texas A&M. He started 2 games against Florida this year and was in Omaha and was sensational. 8 innings in those 2 starts total. 0 runs allowed, 15 strikeouts and 1 walk. He's been incredible in Omaha. This is also a guy in SEC games this year whose ERA was 7.75 and gave up 9 homers in 36 innings to tie for the lead at Texas A&M with most given up. He wasn't great this year in league play. He's been great in Omaha. What is he tonight? Now, Joe Healy told us the wind is whipping in, and that changes that ballpark in a big way, we know. If he's the guy that has been pitching against Florida, he can get them into the 5th or 6th inning. And then they got to find a way to get it to Oshtenbeck. Tennessee's path's a little clearer because Xander Sechrist has been a starter this year and has been very good in the postseason. He started against Southern Miss in the regional, Evansville in the Super, and Florida State in the College World Series. 3 postseason starts. They've totaled 17 1/3 innings, 15 hits, only 2 earned runs, 12 strikeouts, and 4 walks. He's a finesse lefty, low 3/4, going to throw the fastball away, going to throw the changeup away. And A&M wants to hit a bunch of home runs, but that may not be in the cards for him. Nate Snead's the Vols closer. He threw 27 pitches on Wednesday, 15 more on Saturday. I think he's got 50 pitches in him. I think Evan Oschenbeck's got 65 or 70 pitches in him, even though he did go on Saturday for 45. He kind of a rubber arm dude. It's a fascinating matchup because these teams are very good. Tennessee's lineup's a little bit better, but that may be neutralized with the weather. That wind is whipping in. It's just a hard place to hit. So I'll give my pick. I feel like Tennessee is going to get them tonight, and I think they're going to get them by 5 or 6 runs. I think that team's going to hit the ball really hard a lot, and I just think they're better than Texas A&M, and I think their starter is more consistent than A&M's. I give A&M a chance tonight, but I've got something like 8-3 Tennessee to win the first championship for Tennessee in program history. We know Beck. He's got the Aggies. We'll be able to talk about it tomorrow. Let's close things out on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years down there in Napoleonville. Going to have a Gonzales location open really, really soon. They're a certified Generac dealer. They are a premier Generac generator dealer. It means they're in the top 3% nationwide. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing the power is not going to go out at your home. Boudreaux's Electric takes care of all their customers in a VIP manner, so they're not going to make you pay extra for some sort of VIP club. No, you're just a Boudreaux's Electric client. That means they're going to take care of you. They're going to send a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee to install your generator. They're going to do it majority underground. They're going to do it with the finest in wires and copper, and they're going to be able to service that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're going to be able to monitor your generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that if there's an issue, they can detect that from off-site, call you, say, hey, something's up with your generator. Let's come out and fix it so that when that storm rolls through, which is inevitable, that your power is not going to go out. Whether you evacuate and come home to a house that's powered, or you ride out a storm and have that power throughout the duration of it. It's Boudreaux's Electric. Check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
When things heat up, you don't just want a cold one. You want the coldest one. The cold lagered, cold filtered, cold packaged one. Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscone. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch from Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas, and we review the new national champion in college baseball. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Got my guy Purple Barney in the Bayou Ford chat saying, Hunt, did you lose your voice after game 1 last year? I was at the same hotel with you and your dad. Nope, had the voice after game 1. After game 2, we did not have it anymore. It was not a case of me just screaming a bunch in game 2. We got beat by 1,000, but we're talking to Hanny, like the whole time you're up there, you're in crowded restaurants, crowded bars, in a ballpark, and every time you talk, it's just louder than normal. Plus, there's a little bit of alcohol involved, and you just shred the throat. I had nothing left by Monday. The entire Monday morning before Game 3, I spent just taking cough drops, chugging water, trying to figure it out. And I did the 2-hour show, which y'all know is 8 segments, and I had 6 guests in 8 segments. I only did 2 segments solo on that show, so there was just nothing left in the voice, but we made it home and we had a title, and somebody will take that title tonight. Could be the Ags, could be the Vols, but either way, I'm excited to watch it. Beck, let's play Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Mets closer Edwin Diaz was ejected Sunday night for having a foreign substance on his glove. He'll serve a 10-game suspension. Edwin Diaz is a cheater. Take it or leave it.
You got to take it. I don't know what the substance was, but if you're doing that when they are clearly checking everyone that comes in the game and comes out of the game, then you're just an idiot. I don't have any other way to say this. Edwin Diaz throws 100 miles an hour. I realize those guys can hit 100 miles an hour, and I realize that any little bit helps, but like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got this problem under control. We're checking you every inning. Awful.
Yeah, very confusing there. Also somewhat confusing, the Live Golf League has these drones that fly overhead. John Rahm was on par 4, I think, and water on the left, and pulled his tee shot into the water and immediately looked up and was not very happy with the drones that were flying right above him while he was teeing off. Golf, but louder. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, that's the slogan. So we're going to have drones real loud when you're trying to hit a golf shot. Awesome. The one thing I do take a little bit of solace in is that John Rahm knows that he plays in the stupidest league in professional sports history. This is dumber than the XFL. And he knows that. He's really rich, and I'm sure he'll be just fine. But he's aware that this is stupid.
Yep. All right, moving on. Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson participated in the Vogue World Fashion Show in Paris over the weekend. Joe wore a backless tuxedo jacket with a pretty large section of his back cut out, and there was no shirt, no jacket, nothing. Take it or leave it.
Gonna have to leave this. It looked really dumb.
Yep.
And I think that's what most of fashion is. I think you
just
have
trying to look really stupid.
Well, the best I can tell, and y'all can tell I'm a fashion connoisseur. I wear the same 2 things every single day. I wear the same pair of pants and a golf shirt every day of my life. But fashion, best I can tell, is I'm going to wear something that looks so absolutely ridiculous no one's ever looked like this before.
That's correct.
That's what fashion. The Met Gala looks like a cartoon. It's ridiculous. And Joe, great guy, unbelievable QB, best I've ever seen, national champ, Heisman winner. A backless tux is not a good look, and you probably shouldn't wear it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Last one here. Climate change protesters, I think they're called Stop Oil or something like that, stormed the 18th green with smoke bombs at the Travelers Championship on Sunday, while Tom Kim and Scotty Scheffler, who were tied right at that point, or not tied. Scheffler was up 1. Kim was down, and they were finishing their final hole, and the protesters were arrested and removed from the scene. Smoke bombs on the 72nd hole. Take it or leave it.
I have a serious question to ask you back. Has anyone ever been watching a sporting event and saw the protesters run out there with smoke bombs and get tackled by 20 cops and arrested and brought on handcuffs, gone, man, I was watching this golf tournament, but like, I really need to go donate some money for climate change. That was a really good point, and I just haven't been thinking about this.
Yeah.
Or does 100% of the onlookers go, what two wackos are those? Go to jail.
Yeah, that's
does this work at all?
I don't think it does, but
when
maybe
people go into a famous art museum and chunk fake blood on a famous painting, does that work?
I
or
don't
does everyone
think so.
go, you're a yahoo?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the thought process is there, but then again, it's people going out there with smoke bombs, so maybe they didn't really think it through too much.
Look, as someone said very eloquently on Twitter, like, there's not much easier to do than mess up a green. Like, anything you do messes up a green, except blow smoke in the air. That doesn't really do anything to the green.
If they were really trying to mess it up, they could have brought anything else out there.
Well, just take your shoe and like make a divot right by the hole or something.
Yeah.
But I just don't know that these people are all that bright. So it is what it is. All right, we're gonna have a national champion tonight. We'll react to whoever it is tomorrow. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. Shout out Gulf Coast Office Products. We're back tomorrow with another Hunt Palmer Show.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to